Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is TJ the Advocate. I hope you guys are tuned in. For the ones who are here, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to make sure that I have it on my other platforms. Again, you can stream this live on Twitch, YouTube, and of course, Recovery Warriors Facebook page. Again, this is the second part of the recovery series. Again, it's National Recovery Month. Grace begets grace. And tonight, last week, you guys saw two of my personal colleagues, and they were males. I did want to start off with the males just so the men can see that recovery is possible. Tonight, we have someone that's not necessarily works directly in the behavioral health field. However, they worked previously in law enforcement, and I'll let you kind of let her tell you exactly what she does right now. I don't want to, because of what she does, I don't want to overstep any boundaries. I want to definitely be respectful because it's not the everyday position. And I'm fortunate to can say that I went to school with this young lady, and it's like you never know how the universe is going to reconnect you with someone. You never know the path that we're going to take. And you can be around someone for so many years and have the same experiences, the same walks of life, and never really know each other. You just kind of know each other's name. You don't really know the person. And the purpose of this right here, everybody knows I love, love, love behavioral health. The reason why I've been called, I don't like to say the C word crazy, but I've been called off all my life. And some of the reasons why the behaviors that I took on were the way that they were was because of some of the issues and topics that this young lady is going to discuss this evening. I do want to say that it is a sensitive topic. So if you're very sensitive, I just want to, put a PSA out there just to make you aware. It's not anything graphic or anything like that, but I just want to give you a heads up for anybody who's sensitive. But without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and bring her on. This is Mrs. Shamika Harris Bush.
Hey.
And a lot of you guys know her. We actually went to school with her. Anybody who went to Jordan, Red Jackets go. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell her a little bit about herself, and then we're just going to kind of dive in. Again, I always like to tell the guests whatever they're comfortable with. But by the time they get here, I'm confident that a lot of them are at the space where they can freely share. Again, never to traumatize anybody, never to exploit anybody's story, but just to show that you're not the only one. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't the only one, and for a long period of time, I thought I was. And platforms and opportunities like these just give real people. We don't have to be big. It don't have to be thousands and thousands of people. If we get the message out to one person and it impacts their life, then we've accomplished our goal. So without further ado, I'm going to let Miss Shamika go ahead and introduce herself.
Okay, so I'm Shamika Harris Bush, born and raised in Columbus, Georgia. I went to Jordan High School, graduated from there, and graduated college, undergrad and graduate school from Columbus State University. I spent the beginning of my career, the first 10 years in law enforcement, and then got out of law enforcement, and now I currently work for the United States government. I'm a contracting officer, so I'm in procurement. So I essentially negotiate, sign contracts for the Air Force. That's essentially what I do for a living now. But this is basically you're doing stories of resilience and grace begets grace and recovery. And recovery, and we talked about this before, takes on a lot of formats. Grace, recovery is not just about drugs. Recovery is not just about abuse. Recovery is a lot of things. And for me, my story of recovery is abuse. It's sexual abuse. It's incest. And for years, it's always been, and I think it's the story of a lot of Black families. What goes on in our house stays in our house. But fortunately for me, I was able to get counseling so late in life, but I did get counseling. Um, but the purpose for me today is to to publicly tell the story so that it can get out there and maybe give somebody else in that if this has happened to the courage to seek counseling, because mental health and I can only speak for myself and maybe other black families. I can't speak for other people that don't look like me.
Right.
um but it's like taboo for us to go and sit down and talk to somebody. We, for whatever reason, counseling and mental health, taking care of our mental health, is just got this big red X on it. Like, you don't need to go talk to nobody. Talk
Right.
to the Lord. The Lord,
Right.
the Lord will say, go to church, talk to your pastor. And sometimes, not saying that God can't carry us through, because I believe in God, but sometimes
Right.
you have to seek, and maybe it's not not conventional. We have to seek other ways to get us healthy so that we can make other healthy choices in life. And hopefully just talking about this and showing other people that look like you,
Right.
have gone through this and survived it, um, and can live somewhat normal lives, maybe
And,
they'll have the courage to do the same thing.
and I want to pause you just for 1 second. Just what you said. I always say it's a new normal, because of
Yeah.
course we don't want to go back to. There are things that are reminiscent that we remember and we would love to go back to, but the reality is, if we go back to that old life, then we're going back to the old traumas and the old experiences.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to learn to reprocess and say, even though it's a new space, we can incorporate some of the things from the old life that were beneficial and made us evolve. You understand what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
it's okay to incorporate certain things, but we don't want to live in the space of, I want to go back there. So I love the way that you worded that. I want to ask you this. What, we kind of discussed this a little bit, we touched on it, but
Yeah.
what made you feel comfortable with, I always said crazy TJ, crazy to on. What makes you feel comfortable in this space?
Your spirit. I always I am a grandma's child. Both my grandmas raised me. My mom was a young mother, my dad was a young father. So thank God, I was raised with old folks who taught me, like, to allow people's spirit guide me. And I am an introvert who, just, if your spirit doesn't feel good to me, then I
Right.
don't open up. So, like, even in high school, some people would say that I was maybe stuck up, or but it wasn't that.
Right.
I was shy. But I did, if your spirit didn't feel good to me, then it wasn't easy for me to open up to you. And
Right.
so with you, it's always been your spirit. And we can tell people, me and you have not had a lot of conversations, and
Right.
we've never
Right.
had like we've not
Right.
sat down and broke bread together or anything like
Right.
that. But it's just your spirit, and it's your ministry. And what I
Mm,
see you doing for other people that has touched me, and what you're doing for everyday people, and what you're doing for black men, that has touched me,
wow.
because our black men are under attack.
Yep.
And I have a black grandson, I have black
Mm,
nephews.
mm,
And so what I see you doing for black men, that's really what got me, right? So as a probation
mm.
officer, and I know it might be a little bit off track, but as a probation officer, one of the proudest things I used to be able to do was to give them their civil rights back once they finish probation. Right? Okay, now you can go vote 6 months after you finish probation. Here's your information, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you do this. That was
Right.
the proudest thing that I was able to do for them. Right? And I don't know if, some of these probation officers are doing this now, but I see that as a population that's untapped
Mhm.
with some of these politicians now. Like, they calling us and blowing up our phones. Are y'all calling these convicted felons who can vote in Georgia 6 months after they're completed with all of their, supervision and paid all their fines and this, that, and the fourth? Like, that's an untapped population. there's bonding programs where that's the
Right.
only reason why they can't get jobs is because of
Right.
bonding insurance. But the Department of Labor has the
The labor
information
does it
right
for
down there.
free.
They do it for
Right.
free, like send
Free.
them
I've
down
done
there.
exactly.
So that was the things that I enjoyed about that job. So when I saw on Facebook that you were doing this, showing them how to get pardoned, showing them, for me, that is what spoke to me about you initially,
Mm,
because like I knew some of the things about things that had happened to you or whatever, but that didn't
right.
matter to me, because when people
Right.
would come into my office, 20, it was just those were good people who had bad things happen to them. And what I would always tell them was, there's no difference between me and you except you got caught and I didn't.
Oh, I
That's
tell
it.
my daughter that all the time. I said the only difference is, people who've been incarcerated or have backgrounds are they just got caught,
That's it.
and
That's the only difference. Because I mean, all of us are human, and we have erred. So
right.
that's how that's what made me comfortable enough to answer your question, to open up to you and to follow you and start following you in what I feel is your ministry. Like I feel that this is a gift that you have. And so that's what brought us here today.
Well, I appreciate that. And what she said, you guys, is absolutely right. I mean, it's been, when the last time we physically saw each other? Jordan High School?
Yep.
And how long ago that been? I graduated in 92.
93.
So, that been
So at least
however
91.
many, 30 some years,
30 some
30
years,
some
yeah.
years ago. But again, like you said, it's the energy. And I just want to say, I appreciate you just being comfortable enough to come into this space. We've talked briefly that the conversation that we're going to have tonight, it's an experience that I've, endured, not to the extent, but it's a shared experience to some degree by, a lot of us, women. And I just appreciate you being in a space to where you're thinking more, you love yourself enough and you love others. That's the way I look at it. I look at my
Yeah.
story and your story as, I love me, but I also love others. And I want the world to be better. So if
Facts.
anything I can say or do or give a little nugget that'll be a light or a spark for someone else, then that's what our story does.
Yeah.
But you briefly kind of introduced what you were going to talk about. I actually, guys, I wasn't supposed to hear it when we first, because I didn't want to. But this is resilience. This is the word that I want you guys to remember, resilience. And I want you guys to take away that what she said in the beginning, that don't what happened in this house stays in this house. There has to be a level of that ain't okay on every aspect.
It's not. It's not
It can't
okay.
be.
It's not
It
okay,
can't be.
because there's no way for a child to be resilient when that happens. Like secrets, secrets equals death. Secrets equal
Mm,
so much deterioration. You know what I'm saying? Secrets just are not. It's just not healthy.
right.
Secrets is just like an infection, an
Right.
untreated.
Absolutely.
It's just an untreated infection.
Cancerous
It
can grow.
it is. It's just cancer. Secrets are cancer. And it manifests itself in so many ways, you know what I'm saying? And for me, I was angry, I was mean to people, I was mean to my family, like I was always that family member that had an attitude with everybody, and it came off as being, and I probably was stuck up,
Mhm.
always had an attitude. I remember I would go and visit my dad and my stepmom, and for years I probably blamed um my stepmom for being like mean or whatever, but really I was just an angry ass teenager, you know what I'm saying, like
Right.
with unresolved issues, unresolved problems, and like screaming, somebody pay
Help.
attention to what happened to me, somebody acknowledge what happened to me. And meanwhile, everybody's just like, well, it happened, but it's over and it's not happening to you no more, so you should be okay. But really it wasn't. And
So to kind of go into that, as much as you're comfortable with, I already told you that.
yeah.
At any point, whatever, if you want to turn off, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But to your level of comfortability, Do you mind going into
Yeah, so
what
it
exactly
started.
happened?
So it started, as far as I can recall, around the time I was about 5 or 6. But he's 5 years older than me, my cousin, and I am the oldest. I am my dad. I'm the oldest female grandchild on both sides of my family. But at once, so at that time, I was like the only girl
Okay.
um amongst the boys. Um, and he would use manipulation, to get me in a space by myself.
Mm.
And for years, it was fondling. He would fondle me. But he was significantly larger than me. And, I can just recall feeling smothered or whatever. And he had a sibling who would help me and protect me. But years later, when I was 9, he couldn't help me. And that's the night that he violated me, that he actually had sex with me. And I remember his mom telling me that I was lying when I had a bloodstained nightgown. I had like a Cinderella nightgown on. And my mom had gone to a club and left me over there. Um and
Take your time.
my mom took me home that night and put me in the bathtub, and I remember her being very upset and crying. And she smoked a cigarette and she just cried. And I just remember her saying, I can't tell your daddy, because if I take you to Martin Army, they gonna take you. My dad was in the military. And I know my mom was a young mother. And hindsight, looking back, I know I I don't judge her for inaction, for not
Mm.
doing anything. I used to be very angry, like I used to point the finger. You should have took me to the doctor.
Right.
You should have. But now I look back and think about this little girl with a baby. Her parents signed for her to get
Mm.
married,
Mm.
and then she got this baby. And then you got this big machine called the military. I can't imagine what that decision must have been like. I don't know, but I don't judge her anymore for that. What bothers me is the fact that she remains very close to my aunt, who is the mother of my cousin who molested me, to the point where it's almost offensive.
Mm.
Because I've tried to put myself in her shoes so many times, if it were my child. So no matter how many times, like, there's been little acknowledgement that he did it, but it's like the public post, like, she's my ride or die, she's my best friend, and then throwing him in my face almost. It's like, it's okay um that I don't want to have any communication with him. But
Right.
it's that whole God thing. The Lord wants you to forgive. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, but the Lord ain't told me. He didn't come down here and touch me on my shoulder and say
So
that I
right.
need to break bread with him. And
Right.
the Lord didn't come down here and tell me that I needed to, like what is that about? Because
Let me pause you for. Let me pause you for a second. I didn't want to interrupt. You said something that was very vital, and it happened to me too, where for so long you're upset and angry with, but you try to rationalize and replay these scenarios in your head.
right.
But at the end of the day, do you still feel like as a child we should have been protected to some degree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I find out years later my dad had no idea. like
Mm.
like he didn't, during the time, like, nobody called him, nobody told him. Just like I just there was no cover, no protection. So then I start questioning my own value. And
Mm,
then the decisions I made with men, the decisions I made with women,
mm-hmm.
um I know all of that had something to do with, you know, what I went through, the
Right.
confusion,
Mm,
that I have. So I will say this: I am very happily married to a woman, and I completely love her, but I know for a fact that um, I would have made different decisions in my life had my family unit been different. Had I been able to see, and if I had been able to see a healthy woman and man,
mhm.
relationship modeled in a different way, and had my first experience with sex not been a violation.
Right.
It was I was violated, and nobody sat me down and explained to me what it was supposed to be. Like, nobody talked to me after that and explained to me that what sex was, love. Nobody talked to me about it. My
Now,
uncle. Yeah.
do you think that our families though, because I look back, everything that you're saying, you're kind of making me replay some that time in my life when it went through when it happened to me. It happened to a lot of our family members too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like they had the mindset that they got over it, so you'll get over it.
You should too. Yeah.
But
But does
everybody's trauma,
but does it make it right?
right?
Does it make it
Absolutely,
right? Does
it
it make
does
it right?
not. And I think that's one of the things I still struggle with that today. I still struggle with it because it's kind of like, just like you said, I don't want to have to see that person in my circle. I don't want to, if they're gonna, I can't disrupt the whole family. I mean, I can't disband them. But at the end of the day, like you said, I feel like it's pretty offensive for you to invite me over for dinner and you know that X, Y, this person is going to be there.
Yeah.
I
And you
still
know
haven't
what?
resolved that.
I hope to God that I hope to God they see it. So I asked Wendy. I said, "You think I should call and warn them that I'm doing this?" And because I
Well,
thought
we're
about
not
that.
saying any names.
But no, no, no,
We're
no. I
not saying.
mean, my mom. My mom. I
Oh,
thought,
okay.
but you know what I thought about then? It's like, why am I still trying to take care of them? Why am I still,
Mm,
like, I'm still trying to protect and take care of the people who
yep.
didn't take care and protect me? And at this point, it's about taking care of the child who wasn't taken care of, because I want to tell it this time and then I'm done. Like, I'm taking care of me, and I'm also hoping that, again, this is not like a gratuitous thing, like where I'm just trying to, like, get some
Right.
fame or whatever. Like, this
Right.
really is to
Right.
help somebody else out there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's all it's about. Cause this
Right.
happened to me. Like, I've moved on, and I really do have a great life. Um, but there are some things that still do haunt me, because you think about it, like, that happens, and then nobody sits down the little girl or the little boy and tells them, because those are things that you should be talking to kids about, what healthy, sexual relationships should
Look
be,
like.
what they
Right.
should look like.
Right.
When you talk to little boys, when a girl says no, and
No means no.
when she withdraws consent, or, like, none of that ever happened, is all I'm saying. Like, I was victimized, I was traumatized, and then told to go to bed. I got a good bath, and then I walked around with, bruising for
Mm,
weeks. And then I
wow.
cut myself on my thigh so that my grandmother could see it, so I could verbalize and tell her what happened. And that's
Wow.
how I was able to tell my grandma what happened. Um,
Let me let me ask you this. I hear you mention your grandmother a lot. Do you think a lot of your strength and how you were able to overcome and
yes,
survive comes from grandmama?
absolutely. That
Yeah,
woman
because I
was
hear you
like,
mention her,
she was like 4'6",
a firecracker.
100 pounds soaking wet, maybe. But when I tell you, she was like, I got her picture. Her picture's right there.
Okay,
Her
okay, okay,
and then up there is my other one. Those two
okay,
women, and then that's my godmom, Miss McBride. She taught at Jordan. She died.
okay,
Yeah, Miss McBride. She died last August, and then that's my sister who passed. But
okay.
yeah, she was just like she would give tough love. Like I would come home from school, and we go out in the yard, work in the yard, talk about my day, and then my only job was to keep my bedroom clean. Like
Mhm.
I didn't learn to cook.
Spotless.
Yeah,
Mhm.
my job was not to cook because that's what she did. You know, she was a
Right.
cook and a housekeeper. So I straight don't know how to cook. I ain't gonna front. Like I cook a little bit, but my job was to make straight A's, and that's why I graduated #2 in my class.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
but she was tough. Like you don't. She just she just gave me so much strength. You know, she just gave me so much strength, you know, and she used to call me Mika Harris. Mika Harris. But she was a cusser too. Fuck them.
Right.
Like
I think most of our grandmamas were back in that time.
yeah, she was,
I
but
think
you
it's
know, it's just she just I don't know. That was I used to think, you know, I think about, you know, the boyfriends and heartbreaks, but when she died, I remember at her funeral, the only thing I said the entire funeral was, "This is my first heartbreak." That was my
mm,
first real heartbreak.
mm.
That was my first real heartbreak. So
I
you know,
can
I still feel that heartbreak.
I can see that her strength and her presence was really, really important to you because you speak of her in so many different aspects when you know when you're speaking throughout points of your life.
That's where I get the helping thing from, because you know she used to go to the dollar store and buy um what do you call it? Long johns, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody that was on drugs, because we lived off of Brown Avenue in Columbus, so all of the crackheads, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
they came to her house and they worked in the yard with her because she did her own yard work. And so she would pay them, she give them some money, but in the wintertime, she gave them long johns, she gave
Right.
them clean socks, dry socks. You know, in the summertime, she made sure they had clean t-shirts, clothes. I mean, she would go and buy all this stuff. She made sure they had food, water, but they never robbed her.
Right.
And my dad and my uncles were always worried about them robbing her, but
Right.
she never worried about it. Like that was
Right.
just not what she worried about. I could
Right.
see him at the liquor store and I'd be like, Jeff, I'll be down there, Miss Nellie. Like, cool. But like we never worried about that, you know?
Right.
We never worried about it.
That's something
So
I never worry about either. Just doing, up here going under the Grady Bridge. Like they're like, you're gonna go. I'm not afraid. I'm doing it from it's genuine
yeah,
work. So I know
yeah.
that when they know it's genuine, I just feel like I have this protection. So it sounds like grandmama had that protection.
That's where I got it from. Like she
Mm-hmm.
was always
Mm-hmm.
helping somebody. She was forever. My grandmama ran a hose pipe from her apartment. We used to live next to the YMCA on Martin Luther King. And I
Okay.
don't know how she hooked it up, but we ran she was giving water to the people next door because their water got cut off. And I came home from school one day and we was like making sure somebody had some water. And she was like, you got to go in there.
Right.
We need to boil it because them kids got to bathe. I'm
It's
like,
too
what?
bad.
Yes. And the little one was coming over our house because she's like, that baby too little to be bathing in some boiling water. So we got to let them come upstairs. It's like, okay. That's how she was.
Right. Right. Now let me ask you this: years later, you're happily married. You've come to a point to where you understand that happened, but you come to terms, you accept it, you moved on because that doesn't define who Shamika is. Never has and never will. It's just an aspect that molded you into who you are. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But today, I want to ask you something. I don't know. Maybe I should have asked you this before we came on.
Just
But
ask.
I do I know the person?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we kind of spoke about this. I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get permission. I personally
Mm-hmm.
know the person. And when Shamika revealed it to me, it's just amazing to me that so many people will know, because it's the same on my family. Everybody, they know what this person does and did. But it's like they're the celebrity in the family and in the
Yeah.
hood and on the and I was just taken aback because it just confirmed for me that in so many ways people don't care about certain things. And I hate to say that because I know people care, but then in certain aspects, their actions show that they don't care. So I guess
And
my question.
I wonder if they don't care or are they embarrassed. Some people,
Ah,
yeah, see,
that's
I
a
don't
good.
know, especially with men and especially with black men. I'm not gonna say they
Mm-hmm.
don't care. I wonder if they are not sure because
Right.
once some, not all, I don't know about all, but once some men know, they're just like, nah,
I ain't
but
doing with that.
right,
Right.
because I never publicly spoke of it. But
Right.
some of the people, that we know, they think they know. They not
Right.
sure. So because
Right.
they're not sure, and this person is like hood celebrity, you know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? They're not
Mm-hmm.
sure. But
Right.
if I ever write the book, I'm gonna put the name in there. Fuck it. But this is the
And again,
thing.
let me say this. This is not to definitely not going to minimize Shamika's voice
For
or
sure.
musical voice.
But then I will tell
Definitely
you
not gonna
this,
do that.
I'm not ever going to lie. So if
Right.
people, it's the same thing about my sexuality or like being with somebody. If someone were to ever ask me, are you married to a woman? Absolutely. Like I've
Right.
never denied that.
Right.
But I also am like me and Wendy are kind of old school. Like we don't do a lot of PDA and all of that, but we
Right.
love each other.
Right.
We also believe in respecting our grandson and all this other stuff. We're just different. However, if somebody were to come and ask me, I'm sure I would say yes, and I would say who it is. Like I don't have an issue with that because he didn't have an issue hurting me.
Right.
But for the sake of um, gaining some closure with my mother and some other people, I've chosen not to say his name now on this
Right.
format.
Right.
Um, but I don't have a problem saying it to anybody else that were to ask me.
Right.
Um, and again, this is not to, blast somebody. This is to help other
Absolutely.
people. And that's the other reason. This is just to help other people to show just how much counseling can help. Because again, when I tell you, like, I didn't even know how bad this had messed me up and how screwed up of a person I was. Like, like I've been with Wendy now for 15 years. And so just how I treated my stepdaughters,
Mm-hmm.
just how I treated even people at work, you know what I'm saying? Just how I treated people in general wasn't graceful. And I had to see that for
Mm.
myself. And then being able to turn the mirror around on myself,
Yes,
it makes a big difference in,
it does.
and being resilient. Because there's no way to be resilient if you can't turn the mirror around and say, man, you messed up.
Yeah,
But
and I
then
think
you
that's
have
one
to
of the
get to the root of why you messed up.
right. And I think that's where a lot of people when it's time to flip that mirror and for them to have that
That's
self-reflection,
hard.
it's hard, man. You have to call your own bullshit out. And I
Yes.
think it's easier for us to look, at somebody else and call out on them. But what I had,
Yes.
I'm in a space now to where I force myself, and when I say force, I force myself to um, even look at certain things that I know challenge the behaviors that I was so comfortable with for so long. You challenged me area
Yes.
that allowed me to grow. It's
Yes.
not about me having to, or anybody having to change who they are. It's about delivery and understand. I got the grace begets grace from you. Shamika's the one who told it, said that to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." It's about just extending grace. I know that, I tell people when you go in Baskin Robbins, you don't ask for all 31 flavors.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
I'm not everybody's flavor. You're not everybody's flavor. So everybody might not get it. But for the one person who loves your flavor, you're gonna have all the toppings, all the everything, the sprinkles that they need, to enjoy their Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
that's what our stories are for. It's just to give somebody the sprinkle that they need, the courage that they need. Again, like Shariq
Amen.
said, we're not blasting anybody. It's definitely not that. We're not out anybody. It's just the realization to show everyone that a lot of black families have this. Incest is real, guys.
And
I
and
personally know
it's so damaging. It's so
it
damaging
is.
because I lived so long with little stuff that just it paralyzed my life and it controlled my life, and it just became a story. It became a story
Mhm.
that I would tell, and a story that I would tell, but I wasn't getting any help for. Oh, yeah, I was molested. I was molested. But I
Mhm.
never talked about, like, molested is, when a stranger hurts you. But it's different when your family member
Family.
abuses you. It takes on so many other so it's so many other nuances, because you got all that other stuff to deal with. You got your family members that were involved
Yep.
in it, and then you got all these other family
Yep.
gatherings, and then when I got in law enforcement, I used that as an excuse to stay away for years. I was like,
Mhm.
well, y'all doing this and doing that, and I ain't coming around. But that was a safety net for me,
Right.
like. But really, I could have came around. I didn't want to come around because I didn't want to be near. I just didn't. I didn't want to deal with it. And then having to go to counseling, and it's therapy. It was just like surgery.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
had a good one too. She was something serious. Like, and I still see the same one. And I'll tell you this: when you find a counselor or therapist, find somebody that you can identify with, somebody that
Yep.
ain't gonna play no games with you,
Yep.
and keep going and searching for one until you find the right one. Don't go to
Yes.
one that you cannot identify with. Go to one.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost like trying to find the right doctor.
Yep.
And I've been seeing the same one for years, since I know, for like 25 years or more.
Mhm.
And I travel to Columbus to see her. And now
Mhm.
in the virtual world, I can do video, chat with
Right.
her. But I won't go to another person because
Right.
we have a relationship, but you have to have the right one. And I think that's why so many people won't go to counseling, because
Yep.
they say they don't, but you have to have a relationship with that one. You have to
You
be able to
do.
build one. So
Yep.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you're weak or that something's wrong. To me, what I learned is it takes a warrior, someone who's really strong, to be able to go in there, because again, you're turning the mirror on yourself,
turn
because it
around.
goes back to accountability. I
Yeah, and
thought
it's a
therapy,
lot
when
of
I was
self
going to
work.
therapy, yeah, I thought when I go to therapy, I was just going to be able to tell them what happened to me, and they're going to,
Yeah,
well, yeah, Tawana, that shouldn't have happened to you. Therapy wasn't like that.
it wasn't.
You go in, it was not like that. Therapy is not like that. You go in thinking they finna help you beat down the bad guy, and when you come out, it's like, well, they're not making therapy does not make you be the one who perpetuated it. But what therapy does is just make your perspective, and you look at you. You don't focus on the victimizer so much. You kind of focus on you, and when you
It
start focusing
is.
on you, it's like, oh, it's some stuff that I had going on that I didn't even realize I had going on.
It peels the onion back, and onions
It
make you
is.
cry.
They
And
do.
and I got so many layers. I'm still pulling it back. And every day, you have to have an accountability partner too.
Right.
Like somebody in your life who can call you on your bullshit. And
Yep.
say, mm-mm. And thank God for my accountability partner, because Wendy don't really let me get away with a whole lot. And,
Mm.
like in marriage, it's like you got to have somebody that you genuinely like that's your
Yeah.
friend,
She
because
said
you
generally.
don't always
She
love
said
them.
generally like. Right.
You don't really always love them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
Right.
you like them. Like, she my ride
Right.
or die, but she
Right.
really will call me on my bullshit. And
Right.
that is why we've been together for so long. um
But you know, when people say they elevate, no, you want to evolve. Because elevate just
Yes.
means anybody can. I don't want to just elevate. I want to evolve. Because you can always elevate. Get in the
Right.
elevator, you elevate. You
Right.
want to evolve. You want to change the dynamic of who that,
Yeah.
you know, the lens that somebody saw you through. You don't want them to see you as that same thing. So you want to evolve and grow beyond that. You don't want to just elevate. So when I
Right.
hear people say elevate, no, we want to evolve. We want to grow. And
Yeah.
just the transition of living those experiences, therapy through therapy. I'm a huge fan of it.
I am
I do
too.
so much. You know why I work so hard doing what I do? I tell them that all the time. I do the groups because it gives me an opportunity to be in a group,
Yeah.
so I can get the same support. I'm facilitating the group, but guess what? The peers are giving me back stuff I need to fuel me, to keep me strong, to keep me wanting to go on. Because I can't do it by myself.
That's the one
I
thing I
can't.
miss about probation is facilitating groups. I miss that.
Yes,
That's part of my retirement plan is to do consulting and facilitating groups. I love that. I
I
miss
love
it.
it. Me too. That
I
is my
miss it.
if I could just do groups all day, I would. I love doing
It's
groups because
the
it's that
best
real life
thing.
connection.
Yeah,
It is.
especially when you have that one aha moment or you see that one person who gets it. And even if it's just one person in the group that get
Yep.
it, you like, okay, well
Yep.
then my day is
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to say, because I want to actually say this. It wasn't that hard, was it? See?
No, but I needed this.
No.
I really needed
Okay.
this because this, I've talked to people before and so I can't say that I've never said it, but I've never said it in this format. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to just say it, and get it
Right.
out
Right.
because it is therapeutic. It is
Right.
it is
Right.
healing, and I hope that it blesses somebody and it helps somebody, and that they can go and get help, or
Right.
protect somebody, look for
Right.
signs in your
Look for
children.
and what are some of the signs? What are some of the signs that someone could have?
Withdrawal is the first
Mm,
sign, withdrawal, because me and my other cousin would just go off to ourselves all the time. We didn't want to be around anybody else. But withdrawal, I always wanted to leave and go to my grandmother's house. I didn't ever want to be at my mom's house with my other cousins. I just withdraw. I was always reading or in my room. Angry for no reason. But they will always say, you always got an attitude. You got a flip mouth. You just
mm-hmm,
flip, angry
mm-hmm.
for no reason. Um, Look at your little girls. Go in the bathroom with them. Pull their panties down. Like, look and see if they have, a discharge when they're not supposed to if they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Go in the bathroom with them and look. I was when I finally was penetrated. I was 9, so I was giving my own self a bath. But occasionally, go in the bathroom with your kids. Look at their bodies, see if their bodies are
Mm-hmm.
changing in a way that it shouldn't be changed. But you know, giving your kids some privacy is good. But sometimes, as a mom with girls, it's okay to go in and take a look at your little girls' bodies. And dads, go
I'm gonna
check on your
say with
boys.
boys too.
Yeah,
With
with
boys
boys
too.
too. And
Yes.
and if it's a mom and
Yes.
dad in the house, dads, go check on your boys if it's more comfortable for
Or
dads.
yeah.
And if it's
Right.
a single mom home, mom, just go check on your sons, because
Right.
they're not protected from this. It can happen to boys and girls. Um, but more than anything, have an open communication with your kids and make it okay for them to talk to you.
Right.
Make
Absolutely.
it even uncomfortable conversations, and then
Mm.
don't react when they do. That way, when something really happens, they're
They
okay
can
with
come and
coming to
tell with
you.
you.
Yeah, they're okay with it, because me and
You
my
know
grandma
what?
used to sit and talk about stuff like that.
I think I muted. Yo, you muted yourself. You
Uh-oh.
muted yourself.
Oh, but when I got to
There
her,
you
I
go. There
told
you go.
her.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only reason I didn't tell her is because I couldn't get to her. But when I finally got to her, I told her, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt comfortable enough to tell my grandma, because we used to talk all the time.
Right.
So just
I think
make
again,
it comfortable.
it's creating safe spaces so children can express themselves, and that's something that even me as a mom, my kids are adults. That's something that I just really gotten the realization of. I can honestly say, the past 5 years, maybe 4 years, truthfully,
Yeah.
because it's a process. They allow them to be able to come and share, experience. Because I had a situation where, like you said, something happened, and I didn't find out about it till 7 or 8 years later. You know why? Because they didn't feel comfortable telling me in that moment. Because I ain't want you to act crazy, da da da. But the reality is, if I would have shown the appropriate behaviors of knowing how to communicate, and they saw that their mom would know how to act rationally when they told me something, then they would have been comfortable telling me. So
Yeah.
I kind of blame myself for displaying all these erratic behaviors because, of course, a child, I ain't gonna tell my mom because I don't want her to go to jail. She's gonna go kill them. Thinking
Yeah.
from a child's perspective.
Yeah.
So I just want us to, everything what Shamika said, make those better decisions. Make sure we look after our children. Watch. I always say this in recovery. Whenever I say, well, "What's the one thing you look for if somebody got a mental health diagnosis?" No, it ain't mental health diagnosis. If their behavior change, something's going on. It ain't got to be
Something's
mental health.
going on.
They
Even,
have
you
it.
know what? I'll venture to say, even adults, it doesn't even have to be children.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Anybody.
Like, even your adult children, because I watch my wife with her adult children, and she has conversations with them that I have no idea about. And I,
Uh-oh. She went off, guys. She'll be back on, I'm sure. She got clicked off. But we're having a great conversation here, guys. Again, I want to say another PSA. We're talking about sexual trauma, so make sure that if it's something that you don't want to hear about, there she goes. Let me add her back.
okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Um, okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah. But she
blamed it
she
on I
keeps
blamed
on
it on Jax. I
Jack's over
blame
there
it.
chilling. He over there
Okay, okay.
chilling. Look,
Okay.
but yeah, she keeps those conversations confidential between them, and she doesn't tell me, and I'm good with that, and I
Right.
don't even bother to ask her. But I miss that with my grandmother because, like, there's
Mm,
things that I want to tell her, um, but a truth moment, I don't have that anymore.
right,
I don't have
right,
that with my own mother. So like
right,
I have to meet her where she is, and I can't tell her something because I know it's not going to stay with her.
right.
So if you have, there could be something that your child is going through that they just want to leave with you, and it could be a mental health crisis. It
Mm-hmm.
could be it could be depression, and depression is
Yep.
is so serious. So I just encourage you, just open the doors of communication so that we can talk to each other and leave it with each other, and have a space for us to talk to one another.
Yeah, I think that communication is key, and I think creating the safe spaces. I think, like what you said, I think embarrassment has a lot to do with it. Not really knowing how to communicate it, not knowing what the response is going to be from everyone else, because all of us want to be inclusive, even though we
Yeah.
say we don't. We want to be
Yeah.
inclusive. When I say inclusive, that don't mean you're chasing clout, but you want to be loved. You want to be a part of something. You put more passion to something that you feel involved in. You
Right.
take care of it
Right.
more. It's like a baby.
Right.
So I think that might have a lot to do with it. Um, but in hindsight, I can say I work with a lot of adults, more adults than children. And I would say about half of the adults have had sexual trauma, men and women.
Hmm.
Men and women. And I can honestly say, before I got in this field, I knew it happened to men, but I had this jaded perception that we were only women were, it was more women than men. But it's really a high population of men. And what I found, I want to ask you this question: Were you able to? Are you able to have empathy for a male victim?
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Because I saw it happening in the population of offenders that I work with. So I knew it was happening. Um, and I believe that it's possible that it could have happened to the person that did it to me.
Mm.
Would I have empathy for him? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I could probably have empathy for my offender. Um, if he acknowledged,
Mm.
but I do have a lot of empathy for male offender, well, for male
Mm-hmm.
victims,
That's right.
because of,
Right.
in my mind, a victim is a victim.
Right.
And I think the problem with male victims is that, society has created this whole stigma,
Yep.
this thing where, like, men have to be so
Yep.
tough, and
Right.
also women, like, they're supposed to like it. So if
Right.
they and first of all, their offenders can be men or women. So if their offenders are
Yes.
so the problem with that is that if their offenders are men offending men, well, then they're pushed further in the closet to be quiet,
Right. Right.
because what if they liked it?
Right.
Then they
Right.
don't know how to respond.
Respond
But
to it.
then,
Right.
right, then again, they're left with nobody explaining, the male
What?
physical, their
Right.
body, and how their body is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to respond. And then with women, it's the same thing. Well, that's a
Mm-hmm.
man, boy, but that's a woman, boy. You supposed to, so
Right.
it's that whole screwed up. It makes me a little angry, when
Mm.
people don't show empathy to men who have been victims of it, because a lot of
Right.
people will glorify it.
Yes.
They glorify, especially when women
Mm-hmm.
assault young boys.
And
Man,
it's kind of like, yes, you're supposed to be. I see it all the time, and I'm sure you have too in our communities, where you'll see
yeah,
the older black guys, or standing around the fire barrel, younger boy over there, woman walk by with a fat ass, and the first thing he
yep,
gonna say, boy, you better go on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're feeding into that BS mentality, whereas that's that, I don't want to say the R word, but that, that sexual
yep.
abuse type,
It is.
mentality.
Yeah, and that grown woman knows she ain't got no damn business messing with that
Business
child.
doing that. So
Mm.
I feel women, it's so ironic you say this. We're talking about this because the other day I asked the question, we always question, I ain't gonna leave my little girl around all them grown men. Well, you take your little boy to an all female ran daycare center and drop him off with all these women every day. Do you not think women don't do this?
They
I had a
don't think.
situation with my son when I first moved up here where I had to check a lady. I think he was like 17 at the time. She was almost 40. No, ma'am. So it happens to, women are just as much of predators as men are when it comes to sexual exploitation
If
of
you
children.
go, if you go check that sex offender website, there's just as many women on there as it is men,
Mm-hmm.
and it is
Absolutely.
and it is not statutory rape.
Nope.
It is not. It is
Nope.
aggravated child molestation, sodomy. It is all the things that, I mean, sex offenders are created equal, like, and in my mind, and I've supervised them both, and
Mm.
I've read the reports. I've sat through their polygraphs, so I know
Mm-hmm.
what they're capable of doing. And but I think the culture in which we live in, the media, the movies and stuff,
Yep.
they've they've demonized male offenders, in a way
Yep.
that you forget about the male victims.
Yep. And
And the
that's one
male
of the things.
victims don't want to speak up.
Nope. I see that all the time. All the time. And there's a lot of stigma and labels that are put on people when they've actually been a victim and they're just trying to share their story. That's one reason why I'll never want to mute anyone's story. I have my own, preferences, prejudices, and biases. I think we all do.
We all
People
do.
might say, well, I'm not,
We all
we
do.
all got it. When people say, I ain't
Everybody
prejudiced,
does.
everybody has it. When, you might not be prejudiced against this same thing that I am, but we all have a prejudice, preference, and bias.
Absolutely.
Having said that, once you come to terms with what each one of those things are in your life, then you can better navigate and help others. I got my own stuff that I may not, be fond of. But at the
Right.
end of the day, the heart for people, I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't want to see anybody with no behavior health issues. I don't want to see anybody with an addiction issues. I don't want to see anybody who wants to self-medicate or who wants to commit suicide. And from what just from the small population of people that I work with who've had sexual trauma, both men and women, whether or not, however they identify with whatever that happened to them, you know, the outcome after that, they still needed healing.
Yeah.
They were still sad. They were still feeling like, what did I do? So at the end of the day, I didn't see a man on a man or a man gotten by. I just saw a person who needed support and to be able to move beyond this incident that happened in their life. And I think
Right.
that if we can just learn how to just be free, I think it really does boil down to embarrassment. And in our culture, I just think we really don't know how to communicate. I really don't. I don't think we know how to communicate. I think we communicate from a place of feeling versus fact. It's more comfortable to just go back and call a person a name instead of actually sitting there and having a tough conversation. And it's just an easy scapegoat. And that goes back to even the behaviors of, you know, our family members and our loved ones and our friends. Because it's rampant. I mean, I can name 5 people off the top of my head. I know sisters back in Columbus that have, you know, a baby by the same guy. I know, you know, a brother and sister that have a child together. You know, a physical brother and sister that have the same mom and dad that have a child together.
That's crazy.
And, you know, they were always told to pray it away. So it's not an isolated event. I mean, you know,
Right.
incident. Definitely not isolated. It's just we've got to get to a place to where we're more vigilant. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are a number of things that we can say, but definitely being more vigilant and being in a space where we're comfortable to share. Again, never to blast anybody, to make anybody feel less than. But again, it goes back to accountability. I can't judge you if you're accountable for what you did.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't judge you.
Right. And I think that's part of my issue with what happened with me. There was no accountability, and there's still no accountability. There's never
Mm-hmm.
been an apology or an attempt at an
Mm.
apology. There's never been a conversation, like a one-on-one conversation. If
Would you
there had
want
been,
to?
yeah, I would be, I would have been open to one years ago, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but there's been so many missed opportunities now. I don't think so. But there,
Mm.
um, because now this has happened. So now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so did you see it if somebody told you and now you feel hit?
Well, I'm
um,
just gonna say this in case the person sees it. Of course,
I
we
hope they
don't. We're
do.
not saying any names, but if the person sees it, boy,
Get some
I'm
help.
just hurt because it's so many. Get some help. Get some help. And again, I want to say this too. It don't take nothing off those brothers' manhood. Because to me, you're more of a man when you can hold yourself accountable for some stuff that you know ain't right.
Right. Yeah. It's just been a lot of missed opportunities. I mean, when I tell you missed opportunities, like just like physical chances to actually have a conversation. Because I'm
Do
not,
you think they're afraid?
I don't know. I can't call it. I think they're in denial.
Yeah.
I mean, because like literally, when I tell you I've been forced into situations where I've had to sit down in front of them, and he would just turn his entire body away rather than look at me.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know. So at this point,
What's next? You're married. You're happily married. You got checks. You got a
I'm working
grandson.
on retirement plans.
Okay.
I want the vacation homes for retirement. I'm working on getting some consultant licenses so I can
Hmm.
teach in my retirement life. Um I'm working on keeping my dog healthy. He losing teeth. No, you know
He
what?
was when I had to go get two of mine pulled in the back. Two was he pulled in the back. Two for this right here in the back.
Jackson is snaggle too. He can't afford to lose no more. Can you, boo?
Said,
Jack,
don't talk about me like that, mama.
he can't lose no more teeth, honey.
So let me ask you this: do you ever think that you will write a book?
I
Because
thought
everybody has
about
a
it.
story.
I do. I
Everybody has
thought
a
about
story.
it. My
Everybody has a story now.
Wendy has been telling me to write a book for years.
Mhm.
For years, she's been telling me to write a book, and I have really considered it. I actually have pages written. I have a book. I've been writing. I've been writing for a long time because I
So
keep
it's
I got
already it's
yeah, I got like boxes and boxes of journals, but I actually have like I've started, but I've just got to get the courage just to do it, because I don't
right.
know if I
It'll
want it to be autobiographical, like my
right,
autobiographical or just like fiction,
right,
or I don't know what I want to do.
right,
So
right.
I just have to figure it out. I
And
thought about
today,
it.
if you could leave everybody with one thing and the younger version of yourself, what would you tell that 9-year old or 5-year old Shamika today? If you looking back at her, what would you tell her today?
I would tell the 9-year-old Shamika, you're enough.
Mm,
You're enough. And I don't know why that comes to mind, but I would just tell her that she's enough. 'Cause, for a long
wow.
time, I just didn't think so,
Mm,
and I did a lot to compensate or overcompensate, you know, just, I just did too much.
I did too. I did too. A whole bunch of too much. So
Just
you're
a
not by
bunch of
yourself.
a bunch of
But
nothing. Just
but when you
some
look back on it, don't you say, I look at myself, I was such a knucklehead. But what we don't know, sis. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
and what I've learned is I would dare not do a lot of the things that I did before. You understand? But now I know why I did them. It was because I was angry. There were underlying issues, and I had not addressed what was wrong.
Right.
So that doesn't make anything. That didn't make us bad or, like you say, had an attitude. That was your way of coping. It was just an unhealthy coping skill.
Girl, so
What you did
unhealthy.
is learn a healthy coping skill. She said, "Girl, I
Yes.
was."
Girl was mean as shit. You hear me? I had to apologize to my stepmama. I was hearing everybody that lady was mean, but I was miserable. I was mean as shit. Like
But
she
you know what?
wasn't great, but I was mean. I was
But
mean.
see, if a lot of people get to that point, then you stop pointing the fingers at other, and you can point the finger back at yourself, and you realize that ain't that bad.
Yeah.
That don't
Yeah.
mean I'm bad. When you hold yourself accountable, that don't mean you're bad. That don't mean the blame is on you. It just means that you love yourself enough to acknowledge, hey, I could do this different, and I love that person enough to say, hey, I want to make sure that my role in whatever happens the next time doesn't end up the way it did, in the previous situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I'm
So,
thankful. I am so thankful that I was born and raised in Columbus, that I went to Columbus State. I'm thankful that I was walking across campus one day and I saw a free counseling sign. And
mm,
that free counseling led to me finding my now counselor, that I'm seeing all these years later, because I started seeing her and then she left. But I had insurance by that time. I was working and had insurance and I kept her. But it was then that I was able to start, peeling back the layers of the onion and like
right.
figuring out what was going on and addressing, the abuse and everything that happened, and dealing with everything, because I was in so many unhealthy relationships, one after the other, and just abusing myself. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Just just abusing myself, just
I
abusing
think.
my body, just everything.
Mm-hmm. 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 I think it's a process, and I think a lot of people don't want to admit that to themselves and out loud, because when you hear that, what I did. No, it's not making you be labeled. It's just saying these are some of the things that the avenues and journeys that I took. And if I would have been in my right state of mind, or had not some of these things happened to me, or if I had come to terms with it, or somebody explained to me some things, I would have made different decisions. I know for
Right.
one point in my life, I was what they call a thought.
Child.
They always call me a thought. I was
Yes,
that. I
honey.
was thought.
I just did it
But I
all.
know it's
Yeah.
done it
Ain't no
all,
judging.
right?
I done did it. Like I
No
said, I
judgment.
was out there. I done did some shit.
Right. But when I
Ah.
look back on it, do you ever do this? Like, damn, I can't remember. Oh my God. Ugh. Look,
Listen,
I'm glad it wasn't. Look, I'm
I
glad it
have
wasn't no
boxes.
Facebook and cameras back then.
Hallelujah. Won't he do it? Thank you, Jesus.
Like, gee whiz. Oh
Listen,
my
I
God.
have boxes and boxes of journals, and I have gone back and read the treachery and the foolery and fuckery of the stuff I did. And when I tell you, the God has delivered to me, honey. And then was writing it in the journal like I was right.
Right.
Like I was
Right.
writing like, you know,
Yeah.
like so my journals was the Facebook and the MySpace and the Black
Right.
Planet of the
Right.
time. Girl, please. I thought I was the shit. And I wasn't about shit. You hear me? Girl, please. It was
So
a
you
mess.
right. But I think that's part of the growth about it, when we were able to call out our own BS. When we were able to call out our own BS.
Girl, I'm
That
so
makes it a lot
thankful.
easier.
I am so
Yeah.
thankful.
It is, but it's a process. Again, it's a process. And it's not always pretty. And I always say kind words aren't always pretty, and pretty words aren't always kind.
It is not. It is not. And you
And you have
know,
to
a
work.
lot of things happen to me, you know, so I have not been able to have children. And a lot of it is because of the abuse that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that everything happens for a reason, you know, and we're laughing, you know, and joking, but I know that God did not want me to bring a child into this world with all the foolery that, you know, that happened. But um I'm thankful that I was able to clean up all the mess, you know.
Right.
And now that, you know, I have two stepdaughters and a grandson, and, you know, was able to clean it up. But I went through a lot of regret, you know, for a long time, you know, because I used to tell myself, I don't want no kids. I would tell my family members, I don't want no kids. God knew I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want no kids, but that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
it. You know, I think I had to tell myself that and convince
Right.
myself of that, because when it hit me, you can't have no biological children, you know. And then I went through that whole phase, you know, when I was trying to figure myself out. What man is going to want you? You can't give them any children, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of figuring out to do,
Right.
you know. It was just a journey. So that's why healing and abuse it's so nasty. It's not just the act, because once the
It's
act
the app.
happens
Yes.
afterwards, it just
That's the
it's so destructive.
catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
Catastrophe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point that a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
Yes, the
And
act
so
is
now,
terrible.
and I guess so now I'm thinking about it, you know, like when I tell you there was missed opportunities for him and I to have a conversation, you know, sometimes I think, yes, I probably would have a conversation, but then I think, no, I think I'm done with the
Right.
conversation now, you know, especially knowing that it's taken so much from my life.
Right.
You know, it wasn't just my innocence, but it took a lot. You
Right.
understand? You know, it took a lot, you know. So yeah, no. The opportunities have come and passed, you know, and I do wish him well. Um,
Right.
but he's gonna lose and has lost more than I ever will. If he doesn't deal with his own demons.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this. I'm a firm believer that life shows you if a person have come to terms or held their own self accountable for something that they've done. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It
You
does.
can see, you can look at them like they might put like when you told me that, it's kind of like I knew some of the things like the living situation, some of the other behind the scenes situation. So it kind of clicked like it might look good on social media, but the reality is when you know how they really living, you ain't come to terms with what's going on because your life don't reflect nothing righteous. God ain't
Right.
blessing you in no way. I ain't
For
saying
sure.
that you can be in that situation and not be blessed because you can, but how you portray on one end, I'm I'm just a firm believer that God will reveal and show a person the world that hey, you just said it with yourself. God allows you to clean up your mess.
Yeah.
You can bring all of Shamika through the door. I'm very firm in telling people. Everybody know I had 8 felonies and had a whole bunch of stuff going on. I bring all of me through the door.
Yeah.
Our lives reflect that. Life
For
has
sure.
allowed us to be able to get in doors that we shouldn't have been able to get in, Shamika.
Girl, they were closed and we kicked them open.
Come on now.
Kicked
So
them
for
right on
me, I
open.
look around and I look at how life is treating people now. It ain't necessarily what they say, or what they wearing, or what they driving, or what they doing. It's how life is treating you. You might be
That's the
riding a
truth.
Bugatti, but life ain't treating you good.
Hmm.
That's what I've learned. Life is not treating you good. I ain't saying stuff can't happen, but life is not treating them well. And when you look at that and see that, I kind of feel sorry for them almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I do because when I think about, experiencing, like, I feel like I'm experiencing like a full life. You know what I'm saying? And when I say a
Mm-hmm.
full life, like I'm getting life at every end. I'm getting the
Right.
good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
I'm a cancer survivor. My wife
Yep.
is a
I'm glad
cancer
you mentioned that.
survivor.
Yep. Yep.
And I say survivor. I ain't saying
Right.
had it. Like I'm a
Right.
survivor, and she's
Right.
a two-time survivor. And we just built our dream house. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my car paid for. Ain't got no car
Right.
note.
Right.
Because when people be showing their new cars, I see a car note. I don't see a new
Right.
car.
Say it. That's me. Look, my daughter said, Mom, you keep saying you want that Audi A7. I said, girl, I'm gonna keep riding in this van, this
I like
Mini
the
Cooper, and
Audi,
this
but I
Trailblazer.
want me one too. But
I want me an
I
Audi
see a
A7
note.
so bad. Oh,
I do
but
too,
that
but I
note,
see a note.
nope.
No, I'm gonna ride this
Mm-mm.
Armada till the wheels fall off. So, so
I'm
I
there
just
with you
feel
on
like
that.
I'm living life abundantly because life
Yeah,
is not all about the good times. It's about the fullness of life, good, bad.
right.
And that's just real, and
And you've
I'm
been,
just gonna keep enjoying it and living it.
and I think what happens is I think a lot of times they sit because I have a brother. My brother is is the victimizer. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In our family, it wasn't me but another close family member. Um, but he's sad. His life is sad. I'm just speaking for my brother. It's a sad life. Um, it's like life is happening around him, and he's not able to
Yeah.
experience it. Do
Yeah,
you know? That's
I get it. It's like a movie and you're watching it, but you're not in it, and so you're missing it.
yes,
You're missing it.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes. And the
yeah. And
only thing you
I
get to
don't
do,
want my life to be like that. I don't
you
want
get
to
a
be.
15-minute
Yeah,
intermission. It's like their Facebook is the intermission where they get that little high time, right? That little shine time. But other than
yeah,
that, they're not experiencing life because I know my family member definitely isn't,
yeah.
and
I
that
don't
makes
want
me
it to be
sad.
like that. Yeah, that does, and that
That
makes me
makes me
sad for
sad.
anybody. Just like it makes me sad, for people who are going through any struggles. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, that's why I don't know that I'm you know I I never say never because I do pray. You know,
right.
I do my grace notes every night. I do one grace note every night, and at the end of the year, take a bubble bath, drink a glass of wine, and I read the whole year what I was grateful
Mm-hmm.
for. And so, who knows what a grace note would be? One night, or
Right.
God might tell me, you know what, it's time for you. If he were to reach out and say, I want to have a conversation. If the spirit moves me and says it's okay,
Right.
And
it's okay.
if it felt like a safe space, you know,
Right.
it would have to be a safe space, because I honestly don't always feel safe around him still. I don't
Wow.
always feel safe around him.
Look, my daughter just texted me and said, "You just popped up on my YouTube, you and the lady."
Tell her we said
Thank
hey.
you. I think it's wonderful that she gets to see this. Everybody has to share their own story. Hopefully, my family member, the family member I'm talking about, will get to the space that you and I have gotten to. Because I never want
Right.
to speak for someone. Because again, that's a sensitive story. But I'm praying that this family member of mine will get to a space to where, even if they share it like this, to where they're comfortable to share it with the little version of themselves. I don't want
Yeah.
to keep you too long. Is there anything
Yeah.
else? I'm glad that you mentioned that you're a cancer survivor. I'm glad you mentioned that. Your wife is a
Yeah.
two-time cancer survivor. So when we were talking about the story, but do you see how Shamika is well-rounded with resilience? And I know my hands look fuzzy, guys, because my green back screen here ain't always. I ain't got it taped to the wall. I got it just kind of halfway hanging. But that's why I said resilience, because she survived cancer, guys. And then if you hear with her wife, and because she went more into detail, you don't have to. I'm not saying for you to go into detail, but if you knew some of that, and you heard herself for her wife twice, two-time cancer survivor. If
Yeah.
you knew, if you knew, on top of what she had already endured as a child, this is a face of resilience. And so many times we walk around every day looking for a shero or a hero, and we got them right in front of us. Y'all go look to a celebrity when they get up and tell you, "Oh, I was sexually traumatized." Y'all are going, "Oh, Nicki Minaj, we so sorry for you, and we love you, and Nicki Minaj is like favorite." You go buy an album and all that, and you got me and Samika and 20 other people that you know.
And all these other
You'll
small
be passive.
businesses
Yep,
and
yep,
people
and a
right
be
in
passive
front of
about it.
you. Yep.
I just said that the other day. I was like, it was. I saw a post about a death, and it was like everybody, like literally everybody was like, "Well, I just talked to them, and I just talked to them," and that's one of the things I don't like. That irritates me, and the reason why is I need you when I'm here. I need you to buy Recovery Warriors t-shirt. She needs you to buy Cincy when she here. We don't need that when we gone. Don't buy no t-shirt when I'm gone, because I'm gonna hunt your ass. I said that, God forgive me, because I said I wasn't gonna say that, cuss that, but I got to speak my truth. God forgive me, Shamika. But I said I'm gonna hunt your ass. Don't come here lying and crying over me. And if you didn't buy no t-shirt from Recovery Wars when I'm living, your ass better not have to want on no t-shirt when I'm dead.
For
The
sure.
end. That's just how I feel.
Don't put me on no shirt.
Don't put me on no fucking shirt. You ain't buy one when I'm living. I can't see the shirt when you got it on. What the fuck you gonna buy it for? God forgive me for this to go this way. But it just went this way, Lord, for a minute. And I'm gonna get back to what we're supposed to be talking about. But it just kind of made me upset when I seen. I don't even know how we got on this, but it made me mad when I seen that. I was like, huh? No. That made me angry. Why you gonna buy one now when I'm dead?
I don't know, but don't buy one for me. Don't do
Don't
it.
buy one
Don't
for
even
me.
make it.
Don't even. That's
I'm
it.
gonna have my estate together. I want my lawyer
I
to
already,
say,
look.
"Don't
I
do
already
it."
told my kids already know. You better cremate me. Don't put me on no ground and put me on the shelf.
Me
And if you
too.
don't want me in the house with you, put me in the dock there with a dog pen. At least I'll be with one of my dogs
Don't
that I
put
know.
all my money in no ground. That's right.
Don't put my name. That's it. Don't do that.
Don't
I don't
do
even
it.
know how we got on that, but that's hilarious. That is so hilarious. I don't know how we got on that, but I seen that. I was like, that triggered me. Like, you ain't gonna do me like that.
Oh my God. We're
I wish I would see somebody with a Tawana t-shirt on, rest in peace. I would jump out that urn or that casket. I ain't lying. Girl, that's a trigger right there. I feel like I might relapse on that right there. They asked about t-shirt. I'm jumping straight up.
silly.
No, but sis, what closing words that you want to leave?
You know,
First I want to say that
I am in awe of everything that you're doing with
it's not
recovery
about me. It's
warriors.
about you. It's about you.
You
It's
said
about
with my words. These are my
okay.
words. And so you can't have this.
I can't have this. See, accountability department. She gonna put me in chat.
I mean, all of what you're doing and the platform that you're offering everyone in what you're doing. So if ever there's anything else I can do to support you and your platform, I'm there.
I already know it.
For
I know that.
everybody else out there who could be going through what I'm going through or had somebody else to go through what I went through, get the help you need. If you are going through or suffering from depression, there's no shame in taking medication. Take your medicine. And thank you for giving me a platform to say what I needed to say and get it off my chest. I
Well,
appreciate you.
it wasn't hard at all. I wasn't finna hold you to the cross or anything like that. It's
I
just
didn't
about
think it was gonna be hard, but it's been a long time coming. So I
right,
think it's just like a baby, taking their first steps when you have
right,
to say something that, kind of creates a big lump in your throat. And for
right.
me, that's just what it felt like, just kind of getting it out.
I appreciate you just for allowing this to be the space. I always say, I don't know if you saw the last week with the two gentlemen. Um, Everybody has a story. I'm never going to minimize, exploit, or anything. It's just for people to see that other people exist who have overcome the situations that you have. I'm not trying to make this a pretty space. I'm not trying to make it
Right.
glamorous with all the. I'm not tech savvy. My sound might go out sometime. I ain't got 4K and 5K. It's the message. See
Right.
the message, because if I get all that other stuff, that's gonna be what people are focused on, and they're not gonna focus on the message. So
Right.
this works. Trust me, this works. My inbox lets me know it works. When people hit me up for the party, my emails let me know this work. It might not look like it. Might not look like it to the ones who think like the glitz and the glam and it got to be this way. This is effective, and as long as not say we, because we're a tribe.
Yeah.
All of us who share our story, it's not a Tawana thing, it's not a recovery warriors things. You're a part of Recovery Warriors. I always tell people when I do a live, it's not me. I can't do this by myself. I need support by keeping me mentally strong to do this shit that I do every day. So when somebody just hit me up, I'm just checking on to make sure you okay. That's enough for me. They might see my messages, my Facebook post, hey, that's gibbery. You all right? That's enough for me.
Right.
So I appreciate you for even again, don't ever feel like that. I need this. I needed to hear this. I needed to know that, man, it's amazing how many people I went to school with, because you would be amazed at how many sisters that we went to school with that have came to me with these same stories. We know them. We just haven't said the names, but we all know them. We went to school together. We graduated together. But again, we knew each other's names, but we never knew each other. And that's what hurts me the most, to know that we spent all that time growing up uptown, running the same circles.
Yes.
But all of us were suffering from some of the same things, but none of us knew.
It probably could have been closer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Probably could have been closer had we known that we had that commonality and didn't know, but you don't know, you don't know. None of us knew how to help ourselves, let alone each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Life is so full circle now. I mean, man,
it is
so full circle. Again, well, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too, sis.
I didn't have to really ask any questions because I knew that I wanted her to feel comfortable, guys. As long as she was comfortable, I know it was flow. I don't never want anybody. Now my baby's coming down. I guess he feel like you done talk long enough. It's time for you to give me some attention. That's my Jack's coming down. Now my dog like, you've been here long enough. Now come on.
Mine knocked out. He do what he do.
Look at him. See, my dog need to do that. Jack's looking at him. Jax ain't gonna do that. He finna lay right back down. My dog ain't gonna do that. He gonna want to be all up on you.
Not mine.
Again, thank you so much. And I want to leave everybody with Understand that sexual trauma happens to young, old, male, female. Pay attention to your children. Just because they're family members, that don't mean that it's always a safe space. Just be very, very vigilant. And I just want to tell Sharika again, thank you so much, sis. And you guys, tell them your website for all your Scentsy products. Yeah, all your stuff that you're
Oh
doing.
yeah,
Don't get off of
Scentsy.
here
So
without doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, do
So
that. Don't get
my
off.
little side hustle is Scentsy. I sell wickless. So that's not candles. It's everything is wickless. Fragrance products. It's https Shamika Bush /Scentsy.us. And it's accessible from my Facebook page.
Okay, so you can reach her on her Facebook page at the name right here, Shamika Harris Bush. So make sure you go to her Facebook page. Oh, see now, Shamika, you got everything. See, I'm only know how to use Facebook a little bit. You got all the social medias. I don't, but I know you know how to get her straight through her Facebook page. If you go to her
Yeah.
Facebook page, it'll connect you with her website for her fragrance site. So please, you guys, go and support her. Again, now I can tell you this. She sent me a whole bunch of samples. I got to buy some more of the spray because my daughter used one of the whole thing. I want to get the lemon kind. They really, really work the little air mist. So if you guys need any fragrances for your homes, please check her out. Again, thank you, sis. I'm gonna get ready to end this now, and I'll
Yeah.
get ready to load it. I'll probably load it. It's going to be up on one of them already, but I have to tweak it on for Twitch. But again, thank you so much, sis.
I appreciate it.
Anytime,
It's been fun.
yeah, anytime you need me, I'm here. I'm glad that you're feeling better. And
Thank you. I am too.
stay encouraged. Yeah, and you get you plenty of rest now. She just got back off her job, her good job, guys. Look, and it's so weird. I ain't gonna even get into that, but it's just so weird. Full circle. God is just so good. Again, thank you, sis.
Yes.
Ain't gonna even get into that. I'm just gonna relish in that moment what God just put on my heart right then. It's just full circle. I'm so thankful. And I'm so grateful in this moment. And again, thank you, Shamika, because if it was not for you, it would not have been called Grace Begets Grace. Now we got two more speakers coming up. I'm gonna have to make another flyer, put that out, you guys. So you guys stay tuned.
I'm
I'm
looking
sorry.
forward to it.
Sorry, I'm looking tired tonight, but I've been laying down all day looking at college football. So I'm out. And again, thank you so much, sis. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll get this loaded up for everybody. And again, just make sure that you guys seek therapy. Understand that behavioral health is real and there's no shame, and we're not trying to mute your voice. And let's combat the stigma. We're out, you guys, and everybody have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right, guys, we're out. Make sure you go and tune